Hey Wanderers! We wanted to pop in quick before the episode to talk about a recent tragedy. So on August 8th, 2023, a horrific fire broke out on the Hawaiian island of Maui. It has claimed nearly 100 lives that we know of so far, and their search for their loved ones is still ongoing, not to mention residents being unable to return to their homes to see what is left.
We have linked a couple charities in the episode description if you would like to consider donating. We've also linked a few news articles if you would like to be more informed on the situation.
Thank you, Wanderers, for listening and for your continuous support. And now back to your regularly scheduled program. In late June 1836, a group of young boys decided to go rabbit hunting in the slopes of Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh. What they found there has remained a baffling mystery ever since. Hey Wanderers! Welcome back to another Foolish Wanderers podcast, the podcast about anything and everything. Today we're going to be diving into kind of the spookier side of history. We're going to be talking about the Arthur's Seat Coffins from Scotland.
I'm very excited because I have no idea what this is, and A, I'm a history nerd.
Yes.
B, I'm getting more into like the darker sides of history or things that aren't like talked about, like cults or like weird things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ancient cults are really cool.
They're fascinating, but like terrifying.
Terrifying, yeah.
Yes, I agree.
So I'm excited, and plus I want to go to Scotland. That's on my list, but I don't really know that much about it. So is this like Arthur, like King Arthur?
Potentially. We'll get into it. Yeah.
I don't know because the whole King Arthur thing, is he from he's from Great Britain, right? He's from the United Kingdom.
I think so, yes.
Is he from England? Supposedly, we don't really know because he's it's that old that we don't really know.
See, I'm not huge on I don't know a lot about King Arthur. I know the stereotypes, but it's from what I know, we don't it's still up to mystery if he was actually real. The Knights of the Round Table are real.
Right.
Table, not tape, sorry. But so a quick Wikipedia search. He's a legendary king of Britain, but he also has ties with Scotland.
Okay.
So I believe.
All right. I just didn't know if it was I guess the best example would be Paul Bunyan here.
Okay, yeah.
And I will explain myself why I said Paul Bunyan. Because there are states, Minnesota would be the biggest one of where they're Paul Bunyan's grave is here. No, Paul Bunyan's grave is here. Well, this is where Paul Bunyan stood once. Well, over here in this town, we have a Paul Bunyan statue. But we have a Paul Bunyan statue of him doing this. Well, we have a Paul Bunyan statue of him and his wife. And then in Maine, they have the same thing, sort of. Fewer. You know what I mean? And then I don't know if they have any more. Maybe Michigan might have some stuff about Paul Bunyan. I don't really know. But maybe King Arthur is the same thing over there, where maybe, Scotland has some King Arthur stuff, and so does Wales, maybe? Don't really know. And then England does. I have no idea.
We'll have to do some research on King Arthur, because that's another fascinating story. But, yeah, so the Arthur's Seat in Edinburgh, Scotland, it has some ties, potential ties with King Arthur.
Okay.
But this whole story is not about King Arthur, unfortunately.
Oh!
So it's just some random little side story we'll talk about.
Okay.
But yeah, King Arthur is kind of I don't know, maybe I shouldn't say anything right now because I don't know exactly where he's from, but from what I've seen on different shows, no one really knows where he's supposed to be buried or where the round table was or anything. That's just kind of
lore.
Yeah, it's lore. They don't know exactly where anything's at. So yeah. But yeah, should we get into some of the legends? So we're gonna start talking about some history of the area first and kind of the legends around the area, and then we'll get into the coffins.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So Arthur's Seat, this is where the coffins were found, is an ancient volcano, which is the main peak of a group of hills in the Edinburgh, Scotland, which form most of the Holyrood Park. So instead of Hollywood, it's Holyrood. Yeah. And I think so. Holyrood, if I remember correctly, so it's like something to do with like the cross that Jesus was crucified on is something like a holy cross or something like that to that effect.
Oh, okay.
So yes, that's kind of what that loosely translate to. There's also this park is also sometimes called the Queen's Park or the King's Park, and it's open to the public, so you can go visit it and hike around and visit all these areas. It has an array of hills, locks, glens, ridges, and basalt cliffs, and it covers a 650-acre area. It's pretty big.
No, is the basalt cliff, is that like, what is that? It's like a bluff?
A basalt, let me look it up. It's like a mineral, I think. Yeah, it's a type of rock.
Okay,
It's
so it's
kind
like
of a lava rock.
a bluff. And then a lock is like a lake.
Let me look it up. There's so many terms. So loch is the Scottish, Gaelic, and Scots and Irish word for lake or sea inlet.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a little inlet of a lake.
And a glen, I think everyone knows this. Isn't it just like little trees in like this grass area? I don't know.
A valley, typically one that is long and bounded by gently sloping concave sides.
Okay.
Yeah.
Concave valley.
So it's just like a really...
like a holler.
Sure. I don't know.
Or coolie. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Alright. So the park is associated with the royal palace of the Holyrood House and was formerly a 12th century royal hunting estate. So Arthur's Seat is often mentioned as one of the possible locations for Camelot and the legendary castle and court of King Arthur. So potentially this could be where Camelot was.
But they don't know.
They don't know.
We don't know. Bunyan's grave.
Yep.
But maybe not.
It's in like Texas somewhere. We don't know.
Yep, we don't know.
Tradition has it as well that it was at the foot of Arthur's Seat, covered by the forest of Drumsleck, where Scotland's 12th century king, King David I, encountered a stag, or like a deer with huge antlers, while out hunting, and he fell off his horse and was about to be gorged by the stag.
Awesome.
Then he had a... Did you say awesome?
Yes!
Okay. I mean, terrifying, but okay. So then, right as he was about to get pierced by this deer, he saw a vision of a cross like in between the antlers, and like immediately basically the animal just turned away. Sorry, I hit the mic. He turned away and like left, leaving him unharmed.
Is he a saint?
Let me double check. I would not be surprised.
Because Mr. Kendra's cousin was just here visiting.
Okay.
And he's raised Catholic, right?
Yeah.
And he was I asked him what his saint was, because, y'all, I'm not Catholic, but, y'all have saints that you pick, right?
Yeah, when you're confirmed, yeah.
Yeah, that are your little person. And I asked him what his was, and he couldn't remember, but he said that it was a person that was hunting, and then, like, the deer was going to kill him, but then, like, he saw God, and it, like, left, or something.
That could be this one.
And he couldn't remember his saint's name, but that was the saint.
Okay, so...
Who is your saint, Katrina?
Saint Catherine of Bologna. She is technically an uncorruptible saint. Yeah, she, so her body is on display. They can actually go see her body, which is kind of creepy.
Cool.
Those are
cool. You can see, like, the saint's hands and their teeth.
Yeah, like her whole face, yeah. Yep. And then...
pilgrimages are so cool, though.
And then she has her violin. She was a musician. That's why I picked her.
Okay.
Like an artist, musician. And then I think her violin is still next to her, like hanging on the wall, kind of in her little, her shrine thing, but...
Oh my god!
Did you look? Are you looking at?
Yeah.
Oh man, there is one.
Are you gonna go visit her?
I don't think I have enough money to go visit.
Yeah.
Bologna, that'd be fun. I want to go to Scotland though. That's like
above Bologna, seeing this.
Yeah.
Are you telling me that you'd rather go to Scotland and see the beauty of the architecture and the culture and the landscape instead of visiting St. Catherine and her violin sitting there?
Just a little bit. I'm sorry.
How did they mummify her? They didn't mummify her very well.
No, so uncorruptible saints, you're not like mummified or anything. You're just like when sometimes like they're exhumed for like different reasons. Like if there's studies that need to be done, or like one, I forget who it was. I think it was Saint Therese. Her like around her burial site, it smelled like flowers. So they dug her up, and she like didn't. Like she was like fine, she didn't decompose at all. So that's what uncorruptible saints are. Is like you don't compose. Like you're very slow.
Pretty crispy.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say that if
There's
you Google St. Catherine of Bologna, she
yeah.
looks pretty crisp, like she's been sitting in the sun far too long.
Yeah. There's one that I learned about recently. I forget his name. It was like in the early 2010s. It was like this young boy that died. But like if you look at pictures of him, he looked like he just like laid down to sleep. Like he's like
Ah!
completely fine. It is
Ah!
crazy.
There's like the Incans. I think it's the Incans.
Okay.
You might need to whatever. People gotta like whatever community notes me. But the Incans would do this thing, like this ceremony type ordeal where they would have, I don't know if it's the children or the women or something, where they have to go up to like the mountains, take like this poison, and then they would become like mummies and die.
Oh, I've
And
heard of that. Yeah.
they look like they just fell asleep.
Oh, it's weird. I don't
Mhm.
like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's Incans.
Okay.
You can look it up. It's super. Yeah, they're like frozen bodies. They have like their hair and their braids and stuff. It's pretty
Weird.
trippy.
Okay, I did find the saint that I'm talking about, the new one, or not. I guess I don't think he's a saint yet. 'Cause there's like steps you have to go through to actually become like a recognized saint. But I think he passed away in 2010. Let me see. No, in 2006, he died from leukemia. And he was only 15 years old. But if you look up pictures, his name is Carlo Atticus. I think is how you say it. He like looks completely fine, and it's amazing, but also kind of scary. But yeah, they have him like. Let me see where he's at. He's in Italy, I think.
He just kind of looks a little bloated, but
But like he doesn't look
he
bad at
doesn't look
all.
bad at all
It's
for being
crazy.
dead since 2006.
He's over 10 years, like been gone. It's
Way
crazy.
almost 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Close. 3 years from that. Yeah.
20 years basically. Closer
Yeah.
to 20 than 10.
Yeah. But yeah, that's a whole other topic, and it's I don't know, it's interesting to me, like because there's a lot throughout history, and yeah. Are you okay?
Yeah, just like looking at this little kid laying in a glass box like
It makes it sound
the
so bad.
new
I'm
Snow
sorry.
White. I don't know.
Oh man. Okay, let's get back to the little coffins.
He's part of the Snow White
He
redub.
does. He does look like a Snow White. Yeah, like
He does.
yeah, that's weird. Okay. All right. Another legend that we have with the Arthur's Seat is apparently there's like a fountain of youth of sorts. So apparently on May Day, it's a tradition for young women or just like ladies in general to go and collect the dew from the side of from the hill. From the slopes of the hill facing Holyrood, and is saying that like basically if you gather this dew and spread it on your face, it keeps you young looking. Only on
Huh.
May Day though. Only on May 1st.
Only on May 1st.
Only May
That's gonna
1st.
be like a TikTok trend, like beauty trend, and all these
Oh no! Please don't destroy
Instagram
this place.
influencers are gonna go do this.
No, please don't.
You'll see Kim Kardashian and her skims running around with her diaper butt, trying to rub her face in the grass.
Just laying there basking in the dew.
I want to stay young.
Yup. All right, so now we're gonna get into the last tale of legend of the Arthur's Seat. So this one is of the sleeping dragon. This is probably one of the most like fantastical tales of this area, and it predates even Celtic times. So according to the legend, the land surrounding Edinburgh was once plagued by a huge, ferocious dragon. It would circle the skies, terrifying locals, breathing fire, and like stealing all their livestock. The people of Scotland didn't know what to do, and they're petrified of the dragon, and they didn't know like how to get rid of him. So thankfully, this would end up so the greed and like its eating would be its downfall. Because over the years, like this dragon ate like everything, like all the livestock that they had, and it like kept eating and eating and eating. And basically, the legend is that he like laid down to sleep and just never woke up.
Oh, he died in his sleep.
he just went into a coma.
Yeah.
And so like if there's like a certain angle of the mountain or the hill that looks like a curled up dragon, basically.
It kind of does.
Kind of does, yeah. And then some people are thinking that this might have come from like the times where it was a volcano and like the breathing fire and like that kind of stuff,
Oh,
which makes
that's
sense.
fun.
So, but yeah, it looks kind of like a dragon. It's
Yeah.
cute. Yeah. Alrighty, so now we're gonna get into the actual meat of our episode. Alright, first I'm gonna read a little article from the London Times on July 20th, 1836. So in early July of 1836, a small group of boys were searching for rabbits' burrows in the Rocky Formation near Edinburgh. known as Arthur's Seat. In the side of the cliff, they came upon thin sheets of slate, which they pulled out. And there's two different stories of how these boys found where these coffins were. So it's either they were on a hunting trip trying to find rabbit burrows, or they were climbing the side of the cliff or the mountain, and one of them fell through the slate. So it's one or the other, but they found this tiny little cave with these coffins in it.
Oh, ew, okay.
Yeah. So either one makes sense. I mean, either you're looking for little rabbit's burrows, or you fell into it. Either one makes sense. So behind the thin sheets of slate, they found a small cave, and inside the small cave, they found 17 small coffins, each about 3 to 4 inches long and in different stages of decay. So in the coffins, they were miniature wooden figures that were dressed differently in both style and material. So there are 2 tiers of 8 coffins each, and a third one that had just begun with 1 coffin. So there's a bottom layer that had 6 or 8, the middle one had 8, and the top one that just started had 1 coffin. And that was the newest coffin. So the bottom row was pretty decayed, the middle was medium decayed, and the top one was pretty new. The coffins had been in the little cave and at intervals of many years. So kind of like I said, they're in different states of decay. All right. So then for more than a century, not much more was known about the origin or the purpose of the strange miniature coffins, and sadly, fewer than half of them survived.
Why? What do you mean survived? They're already dead.
Well, so these little boys, they decided to have some fun, and they chucked them at each other, and they broke a bunch of them.
That's what boys would do.
So they literally broke a bunch of them. Yes, so that's great. And it wasn't until the 1950s when we learned how the coffins actually got to the town below to be preserved. So apparently the following morning, after the boys' hunting trip, one of them decided to tell their school teacher, Mr. Ferguson, about their discovery. And luckily, Mr. Ferguson was part of the local archaeological society and wanted to see these coffins and preserve them. So he went up there and collected them and brought them down so he could study them and preserve them. So
Not until he saw bits of the little arms and broken coffin lids strewn about someone had a water bottle balloon fight.
Yeah. Yeah, he was I'm pretty sure I saw that he was the little boys told him what they saw and what they did, and he was are you kidding? Went up and saved them basically.
He's died inside. He's
just a little bit, just a small part died inside.
He just rose up for 30 seconds and just was the arms in the arms of the angels,
just eye twitching,
to play.
Yep. And of course, the news caught wind of this, and newspapers at the time flooded with the story of this discovery. So a watch was started at the site of the coffins to see if anyone would return to bury more. And this went on for several days, but nothing happened. And a lot of people were thinking, well, yeah, probably because the papers caught wind of this, and then it got spread everywhere, and then the person that put them there was gotta find a new spot.
So were they thinking initially that this was a serial killer or something, or just a weirdo that was burying their cats?
Well, these are people coffins, but yeah, they didn't know. That's why they were trying to see if somebody would come back to play something, but we still don't know. That's the sad thing.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, we'll get into theories and stuff, which is very fascinating. But yeah, even back then they didn't know. At least it wasn't documented if they ever found out. So, yep. And then sadly, within a few weeks of them learning about this, huge mystery, people just kind of forgot about it. They're just whatever.
That's what happens. Someone in the town got divorced or whatever, and then they just the gossip moved.
Yep, basically. Yep, they got bored.
Yep.
All right, so the coffins that survived eventually made their way to Robert Fraser, who was a South Andrews Street jeweler, who put them on display in his private museum. So then after Fraser's retirement in 1845, the collection was auctioned off, and they were titled, quote, "The Celebrated Lilliputian Coffins Found on Arthur's Seat in 1836. And Lilliputian means basically small or tiny.
Okay,
so tiny
cute.
Coffins. Yeah.
That's cute. Tiny coffin.
It's a fun word. Tiny coffin.
Lilliputian.
Lilliputian. I like it. Fun word. And then apparently they were sold for just over 4 pounds at the time, which is about 622 pounds today. If I got that, what was it called? Translation correctly.
Okay.
Yep. So not that much, especially for historical artifacts.
Right. But you don't know the mystery? Yeah.
Yeah. So then after the coffins were sold, they pretty much disappeared for quite a while. That is until 1901, so we're now in the 1900s. This is when a set of 8 coffins, along with their dolls, were donated to the National Museum of Scotland by a private donor. And this sparked new interest in the mystery, and thus the theories of their creation started. So this is 50 years later.
Okay. Now they care.
Now they care. Yeah, now people are like, ooh, what's going on? Yep. So then in 1906, an article written, so this is kind of like a side story, because we don't know if it has much to do with anything or if it's 100% factual or if it's just something that somebody was like, I want to be a part of this. But this is part of the mystery, so here we go.
Okay.
So in 1906, an article written by the Scotsman stated a new theory. A woman living in Edinburgh, Scotland, stated that shortly after the coffins were found, her father, called Mr. B, was visited several times at his workplace by a, quote, daft man. During one of his visits, he handed Mr. B a drawing of 3 small coffins, and under these coffins were dates. One said 1837, then 1838, and then the last one said 1840. The man gave no context or explanation of the drawing, and then Mr. B just kind of let it go. He's like, okay, weird. But then in 1837, so backing up, then another in 1838, and then yet another in 1840. This was his brother. So the years that were listed under the coffins were the years that his family members passed away. So Mr. B's daughter said that the man gave Mr. B the drawing shortly after Mr. B's brother's funeral. And he didn't know who this man was, so it's like, how would you know when my family members died? It's just weird. Yeah.
So were the other coffins, how many were there? And
so this was just a drawing. This wasn't like the actual little coffins. This was just a drawing, right. But they had the years that his family members died, which is weird. Yeah. So this story led people to wonder if the mysterious man was the one that made the coffins, and if so, why? So throughout the 1900s, people's interest in the coffins was sparked again. Many people had theories, including many supernatural. One such theory came from Walter Habernick, who was the director of the Museum of Hamburg History. He thought that the coffins would have been a talisman of some sort, like totems carried by German sailors for luck. And it's true that in German folklore, sailors would carry small dolls in coffins or mandrake root for protection while they sailed. So this is something in German folklore that apparently they did. So Walter thought that the Arthur C. coffins were maybe a stored in a place where they could be sold to these sailors before they left. And it sounds promising in theory. However, the National Museum of Scotland said that while charms were used in Scotland until around the 19th century, there was no actual proof of sailors around Scotland carrying the tiny dolls for good luck. So it's kind of just it could be true, but also why would the state of decay be so different between them? And then there's no proof that they ever did this. Yeah, so they did carry little talismans,
things, but
yeah.
And it's German sailors, it's not even Scottish sailors.
Mm-hmm, exactly, yeah, it's a different area. All right, so then in the 1990s, people finally started looking more into the mystery of the coffins. In the early 1990s, Alan Simpson, former president of the Royal Scottish Society of Arts, along with Samuel Menefee, a senior associate of the Center of National Security Law at the University of Virginia, began to research the coffins. So for the most part, Simpson and Menefee said that the coffins were pretty close to identical. There was a few small differences here and there. So the coffins were dimensioned between 3.7 and 4.1 inches long. They were 0.7 to 1.2 inches wide and 0.8 to 1 inches deep. So all pretty similar to each other. So most of the coffins were lined with rag fiber cloth, and one coffin was special. It was lined with paper.
How is that special?
I don't know. I just thought it was fancy, so
okay.
I wrote it that way.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't knocking yours. I was like, I would rather have rag fiber cloth than paper.
Yeah, I don't know why it was different, but yeah, probably was what they had. They're like, I ran out of cloth. Mm-hmm. Here's the paper for you. It's something to keep your tootsies warm. Okay. All right. So 2 of the coffins were apparently originally painted pink or reddish.
They don't know.
They don't really know. They can't tell the actual color, but they're somewhere in there, pink or red.
And it wouldn't be for women or girls, because pink back then was still a masculine color.
Yeah.
Yep. So it would yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't it around the Industrial Revolution that it switched to pink for girls, boys blue?
Oh,
was it earlier?
Good question. I don't remember, but
Yeah, it's okay. It changed around there
Yeah, it
sometimes.
changed. We just know it changed. Like
Yep.
closer to the 1900s than so.
Yep. Weird times. Was that Inca?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm sorry. I did not know that she was in here. So she's so because like the room and the office is dark because it's dark outside and I have like
Yep.
only my desk lamps on.
Uh-huh.
She's black, so she's laying on the ground and I guess she has her little baby goose toy.
Oh, sweet.
Yep, with a squeaker. So I go get out.
Oh, buddy. She says, but Mom, I gotta be with you. Puppy! Hello! You're so fluffy, and you match the darkness.
Oh, that should be in a card.
You match the darkness.
So fluffy, you match the darkness.
You ready for a story, Inca?
She's ready for anything.
Okay, sounds good. So the overall shape of the coffins, they either had like sharp edges or they had like slightly rounded corners. So they're pretty much like rectangular shaped, but some of the edges were like filed down and some weren't. So this like led people to think that there might have been more than one person making the coffins, just because like
Right.
they weren't like the same exact.
It's not uniformity. There's differences.
Yes. Yep. So the figures inside the coffins seem to have come from the same mold/source. So they had arms that could swing, and they had black boots, and they actually, some sources say that they had like little markings on their foreheads that looked like where a hat would sit.
Okay. Is this just like a Barbie graveyard or what?
Basically. Ooh,
Are we doing
Barbie
two
episodes.
Barbie episodes back to back?
I think so, yeah. The historical Barbie. Heck yeah.
The Scottish Barbie.
Scottish
She
Barbie!
comes with haggis
Oh no, and a kilt.
in a kilt and some bagpipes.
Oh heck yeah. I love bagpipes. They're awesome.
I
kinda wanna
don't
play
know
them.
how I feel about them.
I think when they're incorporated in other music, it sounds really cool.
Maybe I think you're right. That's a good thought. By themselves, but with other things in an ensemble, I think sounds
They're
good.
pretty cool. Yeah. Alright, so all these like facts, like the movable joints, the boots, the hats, researchers believe that they probably were toy soldiers, that they were just like modified to look like different people. So
Okay,
like someone just like bought a bunch of toy soldiers
this
and was
is
like,
somebody's weird GI Joe collection that they hid in a cave,
yep, pretty
and they
much.
like instead of a box, they came in like a coffin box.
A coffin, yeah. Not
Okay.
morbid at all. Yeah.
Not morbid at all. All right.
Nope. So another credence to the pre-made toy soldier theory was that the doll's eyes were made to look like they were open, not closed, like what you think a corpse would look like.
Yeah.
So Simpson and Manafee used the appearance of the dolls to date them back to the 1790s at the earliest.
What at the earliest?
The
Okay.
earliest. So this is the earliest. And then the cloth lining of the coffins was dated after 1780. But they were believed that the coffins were created, so like the coffins themselves were created no earlier than 1800, with the coffins being set in the hillside being no earlier than the 1930s. So it's all like very much like everything put together, like it's basically around the 1820s to 30s, like this whole
Okay.
thing would have been like
Would have gone
started,
down.
basically. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. All right.
So the dolls were not dressed in proper funeral attire for the time. It's thought that they were dressed in everyday like clothes, like what you'd see someone that just maybe died in. That's a theory. So some of the figures were missing their arms, and this is thought to have either made them fit better in the coffins, like they fit, or some people think that it like is to mimic if someone was missing a limb. So many of the coffins were decorated with tiny tin appliques, similar tin as to that is used by like shoe buckle makers at the time. So like maybe a shoemaker or a leather worker made them. And this clue leads us to the most compelling and dark theory of the coffins. Here's where you get to the true crime part. Woo woo woo. So trigger
It
warning.
was someone's victims.
Ding ding ding.
Oh, did I get it?
Kinda, yeah. So it's the theory. So we're gonna put in a quick trigger warning in case you like. This will talk about murder and death and like some pretty messed up stuff. So if you guys are not comfortable with that, we understand. We'll see you guys next week. Hopefully.
They're missing limbs. Yeah.
Yes. All right. So I do have a couple things for a couple pictures for Kendra to look at. But if you Google the Arthur Seat coffins, they'll pop up right away. There's tons of photos of them. And they're kind of creepy. Like honestly, they make me unsettled to look at.
Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking or picturing in my head, but yeah, these things are very like crude.
They're
Like
very crude, yeah.
primitive looking. Like
Yes.
and they're from like the like 1800s, like early 1800s, and they're not nice to look at. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, they're just like, I don't know. I think it's probably because a lot of them are very decayed looking. I think it's the eyes
They're
too.
just so old. Yeah, it's the eye
Unsettling.
sockets.
The eye sockets. They're not like eyes anymore. They're just
They're
sockets.
just holes. I gotta kick her out. Sorry. She's got this blue goose that she loves, and of course, it has crinkly
Crinkle paper.
paper in it.
Witness.
It's just like the worst thing to have in a podcast. I don't know why she got in here. I gotta kick her out.
Okay.
Everyone say goodbye.
Bye, Inca.
She might try to kick the door down. We don't know yet.
Like just up on her hind legs. Just gotcha.
She does that to me when I'm in the bathroom.
Ew.
Oh, our bathroom, I think it doesn't like close all the way, probably because we have one of those like over the hook things on the door.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like it's closed, and I hear like a click, but I hear like, and then like the door opens and she comes running in.
Scared me. As soon as you did that, Ray yelled at me. You kick one animal out, you get the other.
Yeah, you kick one out, the other one comes in.
Oh, we need one furry critter at a time. That's just how it makes this podcast work.
That's how it works.
Yo. All right, so I also have an image too, Kendra, of the tiny tin appliques on like the second image there. It's just like little tiny pieces of tin, kind of just hammered looking.
Wait, so that's what an applique is?
Yeah, it's just like tiny decorations on the.
It's just like a design. Okay.
Yeah, just like little tiny things. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. I thought that was like actual part of the construction. I was like, geez, why are these made so weird?
No, they must have been shiny at one point, and then just like
it's
decorated the little coffins.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Now I know what an applique is.
Yay! Yeah, it's just like an application, just like put little things on.
Yeah, decorative. Yep. Okay.
Yep. So probably the most popular explanation for the coffins is related to true crime. So now we get into the story of the Westport murders by William Burke and William Hare between 1827 and 1828. So it's just like within a year span. So I'm going to call them Burke and Hare because they're both William, and it's Burke and Hare rolls off the tongue a lot easier.
Yep, then William and William.
Yep.
Kind of confusing.
Yes. So Burke and Hare were both Irishmen who met in Scotland and became close friends in the 1820s. Burke was a shoemaker, and Hare, and Hare ran a boarding house with his wife. So you kind of see that tie in there a little bit.
Yep, you got the victims coming in and out.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Tourists, whatever, travelers, whatever you want to call them, coming in and out. Yep. Wandering people. Yeah.
Yep.
Easy.
So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So at Hare's boarding house that he ran with his wife, one of the tenants died like naturally, and they're like, "What do we do?" So Burke and Hare decided, we're going to sell the man's body to a doctor in Edinburgh at the university, and then so that way they can use it as a medical school cadaver.
Okay.
Yep.
One. So. So their guest immediately dies, and their first thing is like, let's sell the body.
Yes.
Instead of contacting.
Like, what else do you do? You're short of money. You need medical cadavers. You're just gonna sell the body.
Can you still do that now?
No, I don't think so. You can donate your body. Like you can.
I know you can donate it, which is
I'm sure some sort of black market stuff goes on, but like it's very illegal.
Yep.
Yep. So at the time, medical schools had a shortage of bodies to use for dissection. And schools were only allowed to use executed criminals to study. And at this time, people were being executed less and less. So there was a shortage.
Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm. So one bad thing to a worse thing. To supplement their needs, anatomists began purchasing corpses from body snatchers.
Oh.
Yeah, so there's like several ways they would do this. Like they could either like dig up freshly dead
grave robbers.
Yep. They could dig up a grave, or do what Burke and Hare did. They killed people and sold their bodies.
You think
this is proven?
I thought they didn't kill that person. I thought they died of natural causes.
Yeah, so that first person, that was a natural thing. That was like a fluke.
Oh,
that's how they got into this business.
Oh, it's a business.
Yeah, this was their business for a year. Yep.
Oh,
So Dr. Knox of
it
the
should be a movie.
oh, that would be such a good movie. So twisted and make my stomach hurt. But
And
like,
then, but like, yeah, but completely out there.
yeah, that'd be.
No one's
I'd
coming
watch it.
with this. I'd watch this.
Yeah.
I'm into that whole like weird like 1800s like Victorian. Well, this is Victorian era. What year? No, it's not Victorian era.
Is it
But
Edward? Anyway,
Georgian?
is it? I
I
don't.
just like saying
I
Georgian.
just-
I think it might be Georgian. I don't know. I gotta look.
Is it? Okay. Are you looking it up? Or...
Was 1827? It might be.
Yeah, it's like 1827 and 8. Yeah.
Let me look it up.
Hey Google. Pause for Google.
Okay, so it is Georgian.
Oh, okay. You're right.
Yep.
Nice.
Sometimes I'm right.
Sometimes I remember things.
Because, you know, I'm an architect wannabe.
Art history nerd.
Mhm.
All right. So Dr. Knox of the University of Edinburgh relied on Burke and Hare to supply his anatomy school with plenty of fresh cadavers. This was like his in source.
Does he do you think this Dr. Knox ever, like, questions how they're getting these bodies? Or he's just like, there's a shortage, I don't care.
I don't think he cared. I think at this time, like, because like they wanted them. And
There's
like,
a shortage.
They were like, well, I don't really care as long as I got a body. I don't think he asked questions.
This might be dark, too.
Uh-huh.
But during COVID,
Mhm.
when there was this toilet paper shortage, you know, yeah.
You don't question where you get the toilet paper
I
from?
wouldn't question where I got the toilet paper from. I'd be like, I have it, thank you. There's a shortage.
So after Burke and Hare sold the deceased tenant's body for £7, this is the one that died naturally. They just got £7, which is approximately about £1,000 today. Yeah, that's like, it's not a lot. So like Burke and Hare realized that they could actually make a sizable living selling corpses. So like if they sold a lot of them, like $1,000 a body, I mean like one a week. That's just like, it's a lot of
One
money.
a week?
Potentially. It didn't turn out to be, I don't think, even like that, but theoretically, you know, that's a lot of money for back then. So they went into business. The corpses later went for £10 each, or about £1,400 today.
Okay, that's a little bit better.
It's a little better. Yeah.
But still, like, I'm pretty sure like a kidney or something is worth like 60 grand.
Oh. So after they realized they could actually make a lot of money, their murder spree began.
Great.
So they ended up murdering 16 people in total.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's a pretty, like,
That's a
heavy amount.
But within 1 year.
Within a year?
A year. That's their entire, like, I want to see, let me Google, like, what their time span was.
So, like, usually a serial killer will do, like, one, and then they wait, like, years, because they're like, what? What was that feeling? Oh, what?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll do, like, another one, and then they wait, and they plan, and, you know, pretty soon, towards the end, they're just, like, willy-nilly, like, I don't care anymore.
They want to get caught. They want to be done.
Yeah, they want to get caught, like, you know, subconsciously they want to get caught. They want to be done. They want out. But, like, 16 people in 1 year?
Yeah. I don't have exact dates. I can't really find exact dates, but yeah, it's between 1827 and 1828, so 1 year. Yup. So they eventually were caught because a guest that stayed in Burke's homes, not the one with the lodging house, but like Burke's home, the shoemaker, he found a deceased elderly woman under someone's bed.
Yeah, see, just you want to get caught. You're just sort of like, yep, put her under the rug. Like, what's that big? Be like, hey, William, what's with that big lump in the center of the room under the rug? What is that? Oh, it's just, you know, it bunches. It's just a bunch. It just bunches, the rug just bunches together. It's just, you know, so they are sometimes.
And that's the dust bunnies. They got together and had a party, you know?
Yep. Rave. It's fine. Don't look under there.
Yeah. All right. So Hare made a deal to turn King's evidence, which is evidence for the crown given by an accused person, against their accomplice. So basically, he like gave all the evidence. It was like, "Yep, we did it. Here's everything you need to know. You know, kill Burke, do whatever. I don't care. Like, I just don't want to be killed." Basically, he was like, "I'll throw him under the rug."
Snitched.
Oh yes, heavily snitched.
Okay. What's worse?
Huh.
When you're in this situation, are you gonna like snitch? You're gonna rat on your partner that you killed 16 people with? Or are you gonna just be quiet and just let the chips fall?
See, I I don't think I'm ever gonna be in this position. But I feel like I would keep my, like, if I am like actually good friends with this person, which is sad, I would keep my lips closed.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
like, yeah. Yep.
This hair deserves to hang.
Sadly, he didn't, but Burke did.
No way.
Yep. So basically, Hare was like, here's everything you need to know.
Are you joking?
Oh, it's history. It's really messed up because actually, like, a lot of people say that Burke or Hare was like the mastermind behind it. He was like the very controlling one, and Burke was kind of just like the I'll go along with whatever one.
His like sidekick, whatever, maybe like.
Basically.
Okay. His what's it called? The muscle.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep. So he testified against Burke, and Burke died by hanging, basically. And then, even in a more morbid twist of fate, the judge sentenced him, Burke, to public dissection.
Well, that's kind of like
It's
just
like it fits, but like, why
Mhm.
would you do this to one person and not the other? If like they're
both of them deserve to get like their ribs cracked open in front of like
Ugh.
everybody.
Yep. And I'm pretty sure. I think I read that they sold tickets, so you could go watch it.
Oh my god.
And another morbid fact, trigger warning. They took death masks, of him. Like they plaster casted his face,
Mhm.
whatever. So you can still go see them. But also, after the dissection, they turned his skin into a notebook. And then I think it was the doctor that did the dissection. He wrote in Burke's blood.
This is a bit occult.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too far, in my opinion. Like, I get it, but like, yeah. So you can actually go see his death mask and his notebook. Let me see. I think it's in Scotland still. Honestly, let me double check. And his skeleton is in a. I think skeleton's in a college somewhere. I believe.
I guess I just don't know how to react.
I
I
know.
guess turning him into a notebook wasn't on my bingo card.
No, I wouldn't have guessed that either. Yeah, so his skeleton, so Burke's skeleton was given to the Anatomical Museum, where you can still go see it.
Oh,
Surgeon's
Burke's
Hall.
skeleton is it? You can go see both of them.
No, William Hare.
So he's evil. He's the nasty one. Yes. Sorry.
So no, you're good. So Burke, like his skin was turned into a notebook. His skeleton's in a museum. Hare, we don't know what happened. He kind of just got ran out of town. Both their wives and Hare, they just kind of like got ran out of town, and nobody knows what happened to them. So they could have been scot-free and lived their happy little lives and killed more people. We don't know.
Oh, right. I like how they just let him go. Like they're like, so you murdered 16 people in 1 year.
Yep, and they're like, oh, this one guy did all of your you got all the tragic stuff happened to him, and like you gave all the evidence, so you're free. Not even in prison, just you're free.
The thing is, like, they caught them, right?
Yes, yep, they got both of them.
Like, they caught both of them. Like, they didn't have, because we don't know, but it's like they didn't, it's not like they didn't have, evidence.
Yes. Yeah, they're both, like, there and, like, explained everything. Like, Hare said everything. Like, he was like, yeah, take whatever you want, just don't kill me.
I don't get
I don't get it.
I don't get it. Both of them should have been notebooks. It could have been a set.
Buy this matching set at Barnes & Noble. Only $20.
Well, okay, why a notebook? Like, what were they going to do with it?
Let me see if I can find that.
Journal?
Yeah, it's just like a journal, yeah.
It's so messed up. Oh, it's
It is.
skin.
Yeah, so the doctor that did the procedure, it lasted 2 hours, like did the dissection or whatever. He wrote the sentence in Burke's blood. He says, "This is written with the blood of William Burke, who was hanged at Edinburgh. The blood was taken from his head."
Oh my god, it's so nasty, culty, like a cult. I don't like it. Not into it. Not into it at all.
Yep,
But it's interesting.
It is. It's like one of those things where it's like, I don't want to look, but I can't look away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so one theory is that one of the murderers may have felt such guilt about the victims, it was so like wrought with guilt, that they thought that their victims deserved a proper burial. So
Yeah, they do.
yeah, they do. Yes. So to cope with the guilt, they made these coffins and then gave them a symbolic burial. That's like one theory with this whole theory. So before the murders were made known to the public, there were only a couple of other people that could have carved the dolls. First, there was Dr. Knox, who likely knew that the corpses were murder victims, but like we don't know for sure. But I bet he did. Then, of course, there were Hare and Burke's wives. There's a shortage. He didn't care.
He didn't care. There's a shortage.
He just wanted bodies. And then there was Hare and Burke's wives, who could have, like, obviously they you think they would have known something, maybe not, but like you kind of think so. So maybe it was them that like felt remorse and like
It could
they
have been, right?
could have been, yeah. And then Dr. Knox's brother possibly knew as well if he was like some sort of involved. And then any of these people could have made the dolls out of guilt for religious reasons.
Mhm.
Alternatively, one of the killers could have made them as souvenirs, as like mementos of their killings, and then stashed them in a cave to come look back at later. And then it's possible that Hare could have made them after Burke's trial and put them there as well, but like he was run out of town like immediately afterwards, so like stashing them throughout like to get that rate of decay is kind of like you have to stash them a few months or like weeks at a time, like
Mhm.
not like all at once. So it's like either he was doing it like all along with the murders or like yeah. And then most people believe that it wouldn't have been possible for Burke to have made these dolls since they were 17, and that he would not have had time like between like the last murder and when the police caught him. However, it's possible that Burke and Hare did them together, and also maybe that like they had an additional person that they didn't know about, or it's just the one that died naturally.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was going to be the person that died naturally.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, people that knew Burke said that he was a very religious man, which is terrifying. It makes no sense to me at all.
I think I get it. They probably both made them as like an atonement because they weren't buried or had like a funeral or anything, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
So their
Yeah, they're
souls
just like killed and
were all-
sold. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they felt guilt for that, and so they made like creepy little dolls.
Yep. Just like, yeah. Which it kind of makes you wonder too, like if people, like when people make these things, right, that they have that much guilt, like how many nightmares they have. Like good, because you should not be doing that, but like
Mhm.
it makes you wonder, like, yeah, what happens when you're, yeah.
I don't know. I think they just their brains are wired very differently.
Oh yes. And apparently scientists did collect like DNA from Burke's skeleton at one point and tried to match DNA to like the coffins, but it's like this far along there's kind of it's extremely hard to get any sort of DNA
Because it breaks,
from
doesn't
anything.
it break down or something? Like something happens.
I think so. I think yeah.
The Somerton man, remember we went through this and like something with
Yeah.
the DNA, something happens over time.
Mhm. Yeah, just like you can't get
Mhm.
good DNA out of it, yeah.
Yep.
So yeah. And there's like some people are arguing, they're like, because I think this is what they were. I think like it makes sense. The timeline makes sense. I think that like the 17 victims, like the one at a time, kind of making an appointment. Once they were killed, they made a
Right.
little thing. It makes sense.
Right.
But some people are like still like, well, maybe it wasn't. And like one of the things that makes people think like, well, it wasn't because 12 of their victims were women and all the dolls are dressed as men. But I'm like, maybe, well, some of their clothes now, like you can't tell. Like it's just the wood left. Like you can't tell if it was dresses,
Yeah.
if it was suits.
Plus, like, yeah, you couldn't get. Yeah, I mean, it breaks down. You
Yeah,
couldn't
so
tell, right? So
yeah, so it's hard to know, but I think it is related to the Burke and Hare case, and I bet it's probably Burke or Hare both that
both
made them. Yeah, it makes sense.
makes sense.
Okay, some resources for this podcast include the SmithsonianMagazine.com, EdinburghNews.Scotsman.com, MyMacabre.RoadTrip.com, HistoricMysteries.com, QMile.com, and Morbid Podcast, which I actually learned this topic from.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's a great topic. I thought it was going to be about King Arthur, honestly.
Did you?
And then it was about like
Murder.
weird, like body snatcher, like corpse sellers.
Yeah.
And
Stuff you don't learn in history class.
This is definitely something you would never learn in history class for any particular reason whatsoever.
Unless you're at college. You get the weird stuff, but
Not even then.
All right, Wanderers, thank you so much for joining us for another Foolish Wanderers podcast. We hope you enjoyed. If you have any suggestions for any future episodes, please feel free to email us at fwplisteners@gmail.com.
And as always, new episodes of the FWP are released from wherever you get your podcasts from, including this place that you're listening to right now. And if you'd like to help us out, obviously the best thing to do is listen, which if you're hearing this, you've just done, so thank you very much. But if you'd like to help us out just a little bit more, we would really appreciate it if you would consider leaving us a 5-star review.
Yes. All right, Wanderers, thank you so much for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
right? Like, because I'm
Okay.
already on Twitter or X, and I have an addiction to that. It's bad. So I don't need another thing. I just don't.
Okay.
So no TikTok. But on Reddit, sometimes I come across like a Reddit page dedicated to TikToks.
Okay, sure.
And there was this one woman, I don't remember her name, but she's hilarious. And she was commenting on how funny Nico is from Pocahontas.
Mm-hmm.
So she was just like cracking up at like all his facial expressions and everything that was happening when she's singing, when Pocahontas is singing the song Just Around the River Bend.
Mm-hmm. That's a good
He's
one.
like the passenger in the canoe and he's just like terrified. So she was just like cracking up, just laughing hysterically at like all of his, facial expressions and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you don't get that in these new crappy Disney ones.
No, you don't.
What's her name? Miss Sierra, maybe?
Like, bitch! Look at his face! Look at his face! You're like, bitch, why the fuck would you come out of this waterfall knowing they gonna fish falling? He mad as hell. Look how he looking at her. And she looking like, I ain't know they were gonna do that. Like, bitch, yes you did. Now you looking like, where we going now? Look at his face. You're like, bitch, I didn't tell you to come this way. Why would you come this way? You looking like you got me fucked up. I told you.
Oh, goodness. I love those hysterical laughter fits. Those are great.
But yeah, you don't get that. Yeah, Flounder's not doing that anymore.
Oh.
Flounder just looks like something you see at the freaking fish market.
Yeah, it's like a brightly colored fish.
It's
Yeah,
just a
that'd be
reanimated corpse. I don't like the new Disney things. I don't like it. I don't like any of
Yeah.
it.
I think if they would have given him like bigger eyes, like cartoonish eyes, it'd have been cuter. But since it's such like normal looking eyes, it's weird for like a cartoon. I don't know.
As soon as they did this to the Jungle Book, which I don't like the Jungle Book already, I never did.
Mm-hmm.
But when they did this to the Jungle Book, I went, why?
No.
And it's just like I saw clips of it and such. It just looked like a Nat Geo documentary with Bill Murray doing a voiceover.
Yeah.
And the same thing with The Lion King. It was just like a Morgan Freeman documentary on some lions, and then there was a Beyonce song. Like,
Oh.
why?
I get like one or two. Like it's kind of cool. You gotta test your technology, but then it's like you gotta make your own. Like make up a new story and
They're
do it with it.
taking all of them now.
Yeah, it's
I
like
did like the Cinderella one.
I don't think I saw that one yet.
It
Or
was
Beauty and the
okay.
Beast.
It was okay. Beauty and the Beast one, you know how I feel.
Yeah.
The Cruella one I did like.
That one was good. I like that one a lot.
That one was very good.
Because it's a new story. It's like a twist.
Yes! I went into it, Katrina, I went into it loathing the idea.
Yeah.
Like, I was, like, forced against my will. I actually watched it with my parents, and I had my laptop open. I was like, I'm just going to be on my laptop. I'm not going to really watch this movie. And then pretty soon the laptop was away, and I was watching the movie, and I enjoyed it. It was good because it was an original story.
Mhm.
And then Aladdin, awful.
Yeah, I didn't like that one as much.
Why?
It's just like if you're gonna remake a classic, you gotta either do it really well or make it a spin-off like Cruella, like a backstory. Or you gotta make it different.
Yeah.
Because if you just like take a story that like Disney's like Aladdin's like very Disney, and then if you just switch some of the songs around and just switch it a little bit, it makes it really cringy because you're like, it's your story, but yeah, you made it worse somehow. I don't know, it was weird. Like it wasn't bad, but it wasn't like what I was expecting. Because like Aladdin is such a good, like has such an amazing soundtrack and is a good story. But then like the new version's like it just kind of fell like neutral. It wasn't like
They made Jafar hot.
Yeah.
Jafar.
Yeah, it's for
Remember
like kids that
him?
grew up. Yep.
Like villains used to be like they look like nasty,
Yep.
like villainous, whatever.
Mhm.
And remember Jafar had that little like curly Q, like little like, soul patch
Scraggly.
thing that was like scraggly. They made him now like big beefed up, like
Yep.
hot. Like I was like, okay, I'm kind of Team Jafar. Like, yeah.
No, don't be. But yeah, it's to get the kids that grew up with the movie to come watch it again.
No, I'm not a Disney adult. You can't make me.
I think you're turning into one.
No!
Okay.
I'm just, like, pooping on them. That's all I do.
Okay.
I don't like any of the I don't Mhm.
Yeah, I feel it. What's the new one they're doing? Because there's...
Oh, the Snow White one?
Is it that one? I think there's another one, too.
The Snow White one's got a bunch of, like, controversy around it.
Oh,
Because
no.
they got rid of the 7 dwarfs, and they
Okay.
replaced them with, like the rumor is that they replaced them with, like, people that have, like, talents, like, tokens, like, magical abilities or something, and that's just what the dwarves are now going to be.
Weird.
It's
Okay.
very weird. I don't know why they replaced them.
It's like a
I
big
feel
point of the
yeah.
story.
I
Like,
feel like their whole, like, it's taboo to have 7 I really don't know, offensive I don't really know, but I do know that, like, prominent, little people actors are
mhm.
not very happy with the choice of, because they don't get jobs as it is,
Yeah, that's a thing. It's
and
very slim for them.
this was like freaking NBA primetime, like Oscars, here we go. And then like they're like replacing them with full-grown people that have magical abilities. They're like photos that got leaked from the set, from
Mhm.
the set of this movie, and people were just crapping all over it on like Twitter and YouTube and Reddit and all the other
Mhm.
stuff. And Disney was like, "Those are fake."
Oh, sure. No.
Sure. Like, why would they were in full costume?
Now it's like it's gonna suck when the actual trailers come out and they replaced it. Like, if they do go back to, like,
With CGI, like,
traditional...
CGI them in, and it's just gonna look
Oh.
like
Oh, so much worse. But, like, imagine the actors too that got cast as, like, these replacements.
Mhm.
If they after those leaked, like, what if they got fired and they're like, "Oh, we're scrapping that." Like, that would suck.
That would suck too, but they got paid.
Hopefully they
Probably
did.
not well, but they got
No.
paid.
Hopefully.
But yeah, hopefully. But then it's like I'm like, yeah, like those ones, like why can't they just, do it how the it's a good story. Well, it's kind of
Mhm.
there's creepy parts, but it's a
Yeah.
fairy tale. Like children,
Yeah.
children understand what's right and wrong. They don't like get into like the weeds of the gray areas of things. They're just
Yeah,
like,
that's
well,
yeah.
But I like the actress that they had to be Snow White, that Rachel Ziegler.
Interesting.
She
Okay.
was Maria in what's West Side Story, the new one.
Okay.
And then they're having I think it was Gal Gadot. Is it Gadot or Gadot?
I think it's
That's
Godot.
Wonder Woman. They're making her the evil queen, and I don't.
No!
I'm like, she's
I
so
like her.
pretty, and the evil
She
queen's supposed to be old and evil.
Yeah.
And no offense to Gal Gadot or Godot, this is just my personal opinion.
Mhm.
You're about like a 4 out of 10 actor. Like your acting ability, it's about a 4 out of 10.
Oh, I like her, though. She seems nice.
She seems very nice.
I haven't seen a lot of her stuff, so I can't, like,
I-
comment on this.
It's about a 4 out of 10 acting skills.
What else has she been in?
She was in the first thing I've seen her in was The Fast and the Furious.
Okay.
You know those movie series?
Oh, yes.
My favorite one is the one where they're on the runway like in Europe, and the runway is like the size of Europe because it's like a 10-minute sequence of them on a like trying to catch this plane.
Oh, goodness.
It's like that. So she's in those movies, and I I think it's like I don't know, like she's very like I don't know, kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but Arnold Schwarzenegger's a good actor sometimes, not really, but like very like monotone, like doesn't really. I don't know. There's not a lot of
Okay.
like depth to the character or
Sure.
the whatever. Whatever. I don't want to make her feel bad. 4 out of 10 acting skills.
I don't wanna make her feel bad, but I'm gonna make her less than 50%.
11 out of 10, physical skills. She's Mrs. Rayleigh or something, her former, right? She's beautiful.
Yeah, she
She's
is.
a beautiful lady. Yeah, 11 out of
Mhm.
10. But like 4 out of 10 for acting skills. And that's just how it is. That's okay. You can't have everything. You just
Yeah.
can't.
No.
Unless you're Margot Robbie.
Yeah.
Wasn't she trying to get like her feet? Weren't people like crapping on her feet or something like online?
What do you mean?
There was something where people were like, her feet are busted and like nasty.
Aw.
And then they showed photos of her feet. And I was like, those just look like nice feet.
Was it, like, the Barbie heel trend? Is that what it was?
I
Like, where
don't know what
she's...
it was.
'Cause there's one, like, in the movie, she steps out of her heels and, like, her feet are, like, like Barbie feet, because like Barbie feet, like the dolls are molded, so like they're always on tiptoes to fit in the
Yeah.
high heels. So she like steps out of her high heels in the movie, and she still has those tiptoes, and then she goes to flat feet. So like some people were trying to do like on TikTok, it's like a trend to step out of
Mhm.
your high heels or whatever and mimic that shape.
Okay.
So that's what I know. I don't know about anybody dissing her feet.
I don't know. I think he was a lot of men. I don't know.
Okay, yeah,
I just saw like some things. I was like, "What in the world? Like, what's wrong with her feet?" I looked at them. I was like, "You want to see busted?
they're
You want to
just
see
jealous.
busted feet? Look at my feet. I got
They-
toes behind toes.
You got toes behind toes?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
I
don't.
have
They're not. It's not. It's not fun. I don't want to bring them out like Aaron Rodgers when he was like, I had COVID toe or whatever, and like
COVID
show.
toe?
Yeah. So like, there's like a meme now of the team who shall not be named. When he was with them as a quarterback, he got COVID, and then he claimed he had COVID toe, and then for some reason he showed like the reporters his toe, and like it was like like social distancing, so he was on like a laptop like this, like Zoom, and he just
Okay.
had like his toe by the screen, like showing them his feet.
I don't want to see your feet. That's
So,
disgusting.
yeah, so I don't really want to whip out my really gross feet. They're
But that's
bony, and none of my toes are straight. They're all like growing behind each other.
okay. Oh. I mean, I have like my pinky toes. I like walk on the sides of them. That's just how they grew.
Yeah.
And like I have two like pinky toenails. But yeah, it's like where your pinky toe, it's like two separate toenails. It's weird. I'll
In
show
the
you.
toenail?
Yes. So like, your
In the
pinky
toe,
toe is
there's two toenails.
yeah, I'll show you.
So
Hold on.
how many toenails do you have in total?
So there's 5 and a very tiny one on my each of my pinky toes.
I don't
They get
have
caught and
toenails on
stuff.
my pinky toes.
That's right, you told me that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't have
You have
toenails
8
on
in
there.
total.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
8 in total. Is that a Finnish thing?
I can look it up. Hold on.
Fins.
Okay, extra toenail on pinky toe. So it's called an accessory nail on the 5th toe. That's what I have.
Accessory
Otherwise,
nail.
let's see. Yeah, it's a weird genetic thing.
Mr. Kendra just has like big toenails. Like his
Like
pinky
thick
toe,
or like
like just big ones. Like they
okay.
look like how you would draw one on. Like
Oh,
I'm
sure.
pretty sure his pinky toenail might be as big as my pointer
Oh goodness.
toenail.
Oh goodness. So your big toe is the same as his pinky
No,
toe.
like the pointer one. I don't know, not
Oh,
the
that's what they wanted.
thumb. I don't know how to.
I was very
Not the
confused.
big toe, but like the pointer toe next to the big toe.
Okay, yeah, I gotcha.
About that size.
Okay, interesting.
Is it a Norwegian thing?
Me, I can't find that part. But I found so apparently yours with no toenail is also genetic.
Oh, interesting.
It can also be caused by pressure. It's like if you're something to do like with how your nail forms.
Pressure forms diamonds.
Mm-hmm.
And no
And
toenails. So yeah. You know how rich I would be if my toenail on my pinky toes were just diamonds instead? Like instead of a toenail, it was so much pressure, it was like diamonds.
Would you be rich or would you be like hunted for your toenails?
Well, I wouldn't tell anybody,
Okay.
but I'd be a diamond dealer.
Ooh, just trim off a little piece of diamond. How would you cut them though?
I don't know. I'd be like, they'd ask me if these are blood diamond or lab grown, and I'd be like, I don't know how to answer that. Both?
Technically both.
Technically
It's
both.
Kendra-grown.
Technically both. Does that make it worth more to you?
I don't. It's Kendra-grown. That's just Kendra-grown toenail diamonds.
Like, dang, see, now you're gonna put a target on my head. I just say they're both. It's lab grown and it's a blood diamond, but
Okay.
but the only person that was hurt
Just
was
like-
one person, and she's
She's
just
fine.
a
She's
just
had a
a
little speck of blood
Midwest
on her
hoe.
diamond.
It's fine.
She's had like it's lab grown, but then she has a speck of blood on it. It's a blood diamond.
Yeah, what is this episode?
I don't know. Oh, we should do the intro.
Let's do the intro.
All right.
That just sounds like.
Yes, do the intro while I pour my wine. Sounds
Oh,
really
good.
bad.
Did it sound like wine pouring?
No.
Okay.